My wife announced, "You're not coming on this trip unless you pay for everything." I said, "No problem." I packed my things and made one call. A few hours later, when she came home late that night expecting a fight, the apartment was empty and the key didn't work. I, 32 male, had been with Evelyn, 29, for 4 years, married for 2. She told me I wasn't coming on the Bali trip unless I paid for everything. Flights, hotel, meals, activities, all of it. Or I could stay home. I looked at her across the kitchen island, her arms crossed, that smirk she wore when she thought she had me cornered. I said, "No problem." She blinked. She expected a fight. She always expected a fight, followed by my usual cave-in, followed by me opening my wallet like I always did. Instead, I smiled, turned, and walked to the bedroom. 2 weeks earlier, she had dropped the Bali bomb over dinner. "I'm going with Emily and Riley in June," she said. "You can come if you want, but you're covering it. I'm not paying for anything." I nodded. I stirred my pasta. I said nothing. That night, while she scrolled Instagram in bed, I opened my laptop in the spare room. I didn't argue. I didn't protest. I made a list instead. Bank accounts, lease agreement, utilities, car insurance, everything that tied me to this apartment, to her, to the financial black hole I'd been living in for 2 years. The Bali conversation was the final proof I needed. The proof that she saw me as an ATM, not a partner. The proof I'd been collecting for months was about to matter. The warning signs started small. 3 months into dating, Evelyn quit her retail job. She said the manager was toxic, the hours were bad, the customers were rude. I told her to take her time finding something better. I covered dinner that week, then the next, then the month after that. By the time we moved in together, I was paying rent, utilities, groceries, and her car payment. She said she was job hunting. She had interviews. Nothing ever stuck. Marketing roles fell through. Admin positions ghosted her. Every rejection came with tears, and I held her, and I said it was okay. We'd figure it out. I made $92,000 a year as a software engineer. My salary covered us both with room to spare. At first, it felt generous, noble even. I was supporting my partner through a rough patch, but the rough patch never ended. Evelyn stopped job hunting around month 9. She said she was focusing on wellness, yoga classes, therapy, self-care. I paid for all of it. When I brought up finances, gently, she cried. She said I was making her feel worthless. She said she contributed in other ways, emotional labor, keeping the apartment nice, cooking sometimes. I checked the joint account one Saturday morning in February. Evelyn had spent $300 at Sephora, $400 at Zara, and $200 on brunch with friends. In 1 week. Money I deposited. Money she withdrew without asking, without hesitation, without guilt. When I asked about it, she said, "It's our money, right? That's what joint accounts are for." I opened a separate account the next day. I rerouted my direct deposit. I left enough in the joint account to cover shared bills and gave her a monthly allowance of $500. She complained it wasn't enough. I didn't budge. That was when the passive-aggressive comments started. "Must be nice to have your own money while I'm stuck here. I guess you don't trust me anymore. You're acting like I'm some kind of burden." I stayed calm. I stayed quiet. I worked late, saved aggressively, and started documenting. Screenshots of her spending, texts where she demanded I cover things, proof that I paid rent, utilities, insurance, everything, while her contributions sat at 0. The Bali conversation was the breaking point, but it wasn't the first time she had weaponized a trip. Last summer, she wanted to visit her college friends in San Diego. She booked the hotel and flight on my credit card without asking. When I confronted her, she said, "I thought you'd be happy I'm taking initiative." I paid the bill, $1,500. She went alone. She posted photos. She tagged her friends. She didn't tag me. I wasn't invited, but Bali was different. Bali was her testing how far she could push. Bali was her way of saying, "You exist to fund my life, and if you don't, you're irrelevant." That night after she dropped the ultimatum, I didn't sleep. I sat at my desk and I opened a folder on my desktop labeled Finance Records. Inside were months of evidence, bank statements, lease agreements in my name only, screenshots, a legal consultation I'd scheduled for the following week. She thought she had leverage. She thought I needed her. She was wrong. The next morning, Evelyn acted like nothing happened. She hummed in the kitchen, making coffee in the French press I bought. She scrolled her phone, laughing at memes, planning her Bali outfits in a shared Pinterest board with Emily and Riley. I watched her from the couch, my laptop open, pretending to work. She didn't ask if I'd reconsidered. She didn't apologize. She assumed I'd fold, like I always did. I opened my banking app. I checked the balances. My private account held $43,000. The joint account held $900. I'd been funneling money into savings for 8 months, preparing for a moment I hoped wouldn't come, but knew eventually would. At lunch, I called the property management company. "Hi, I'm calling about the lease for Unit 407 at Riverside Towers. I'm the sole tenant. I need to confirm the termination process." The woman on the phone pulled up my file. "You're month to month now, correct?" "Yes." "Then you need to provide 30 days notice in writing. After that, you're clear." I thanked her. I hung up. I drafted the notice on my phone, saved it, and scheduled it to send on June 1st, exactly 30 days before the Bali trip. Evelyn walked into the living room that evening holding her phone. "Emily found an amazing resort. It's $600 a night, but it has an infinity pool and spa access. Can you book it?" I didn't look up. "Sure." She paused. "Really?" "Yeah, send me the link." She sent it. I opened it. I didn't book anything. I added the cost to a spreadsheet instead. $600 a night for 5 nights, $3,000, plus flights at $1,200 each, meals, activities, transportation. Total estimated cost, $8,000. I saved the spreadsheet. I titled it Bali Breakdown. That weekend, Evelyn went out with Emily and Riley. She said they were planning the trip. She left at noon. She came back at 11. I asked how it went. She said it was fine. She smelled like vodka and lime. She didn't offer details. While she was gone, I moved my documents: birth certificate, passport, social security card, tax returns. I put them in a folder and took them to my office. I stored them in a locked drawer. I updated my direct deposit address to my brother's place in Portland. I changed my Amazon shipping address to a P.O. box I'd rented the week before. Small moves, invisible moves. Moves she wouldn't notice until it was too late. At dinner on Monday, Evelyn mentioned the trip again. "Did you book the resort yet?" "Not yet." "Why not? It's filling up." "I'll handle it this week." She sighed. "You always procrastinate." I smiled. I said nothing. That night, I reviewed the lease agreement again. My name, my signature, my credit check. Evelyn wasn't on it. She'd moved in as a guest, and when I asked the landlord to add her, she refused. She said she didn't want her name on legal documents because it stressed her out. At the time, I thought it was anxiety. Now I realized it was convenience. She wanted access to my life without accountability. She wanted the benefits of partnership without the responsibilities. But the lease was mine. The apartment was mine. And when the 30 days expired, the locks would change, and she'd be standing outside with a key that no longer worked. She just didn't know it yet. I met with a lawyer on Thursday. His office was in a quiet building downtown, the kind of place with marble floors and abstract art on the walls. His name was Matthew Ramirez. He specialized in family law and asset protection. I'd found him through a Reddit thread titled, "How to Leave a Financial Parasite." Matthew listened while I walked him through the situation, the spending, the ultimatums, the lack of contribution, the joint account, the lease in my name only, the upcoming trip. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. "You're not married, correct?" "We are, 2 years." "Then this is more complicated. Community property rules apply. Any assets acquired during the marriage are jointly owned, regardless of who earned them." I nodded. "What about debts?" "Same principle, joint responsibility. She doesn't have debts. She doesn't have income. She has access to my money and nothing else." Matthew tapped his pen on the desk. "Does she have a separate account?" "No. She closed hers when we got the joint account. She said it was easier." "And the lease?" "My name only. She never signed." Matthew made a note. "That's good. That means you control the residence. If you terminate the lease and move out, she has no legal claim to stay. What about the joint account? Close it. Transfer your share to your private account. Leave her whatever she contributed. If she contributed nothing, leave nothing. I felt my chest tighten. Is that legal? It's your money. She has no separate income. Legally, you're entitled to withdraw what you deposited. Morally, ethically, that's your call. But if you're ending the relationship, I'd advise removing your financial exposure immediately. I asked about alimony. He said California requires marriages of at least 10 years for long-term support. We were at 2. Short-term support was possible but minimal, a few months at most. If she contests, you'll need documentation. Prove she was financially dependent by choice, not circumstance. Prove she refused to work despite opportunity. Prove the spending patterns. I opened my phone. I showed him the folder. Bank statements. Screenshots of texts where she demanded I pay for things. Receipts showing I covered rent, utilities, car payments, everything. Matthew smiled. This is good, very good. If it goes to court, you'll have a strong case. I left his office with a plan. Step 1, give 30 days notice to the landlord on June 1st. Step 2, close the joint account on June 15th. Step 3, move my belongings while Evelyn was out on June 20th. Step 4, terminate utilities and insurance on June 30th. Step 5, let her discover the empty apartment and change locks when she came home that night. Matthew called it a strategic exit. I called it survival. That evening, I opened the joint account online. The balance was down to $600. Evelyn had spent $300 at a salon that afternoon, highlights and a manicure. I checked her Instagram. She'd posted a selfie. Self-care Saturday, the caption read, 12 heart emojis. I didn't comment. I didn't like. I screenshot the post and saved it to the folder. On Sunday, Evelyn asked about Bali again. The resort is almost booked. Emily is freaking out. Can you just confirm the dates? I said, I'll handle it tomorrow. She huffed. You keep saying that. I know. Are you even planning to come? I looked at her. She stood in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, face tight. She wanted a fight. She wanted me to argue, to justify, to beg for her approval. Instead, I said, I'll come. I already said I'd pay. She relaxed. Okay, good. I smiled. I turned back to my laptop. Behind the screen, I opened my calendar. June 30th was circled in red, the day the lease expired, the day the apartment became someone else's problem, the day Evelyn would learn what it felt like to lose access to someone else's life, 15 days away. Update 1. On June 1st, I submitted the lease termination notice electronically. The landlord confirmed receipt within an hour. The email was short. Notice received. Lease terminates June 30th. Final walkthrough scheduled for June 29th at 3 p.m. Security deposit will be returned within 21 days. I saved the email. I forwarded it to Matthew. I updated my spreadsheet. Evelyn didn't notice. She was at brunch with Emily and Riley, planning Bali outfits and restaurant reservations. She posted Instagram stories, mimosas, avocado toast, laughter. I watched from my desk, detached, calculating. On June 8th, I called the bank. I need to close a joint checking account and transfer the balance to my individual account. The representative asked for my details. I provided them. She pulled up the account. The current balance is $412. You're listed as the primary account holder. I can process the closure and transfer now. Do it, she confirmed. The joint account closed at 10:47 a.m. $412 moved to my private account. Evelyn's debit card was deactivated instantly. I waited for the call. It came at 2:13 p.m. My card isn't working. I was at my desk, headphones on, pretending to be in a meeting. I let it ring. She called again. I declined. She texted. Why isn't my card working? I replied 2 hours later. I closed the joint account. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. What? I closed it. The money was mine. You weren't contributing. Are you serious? Yes. You can't just do that. I can. I did. I'm coming home. We need to talk. I didn't reply. Evelyn came home at 4:30 p.m. She slammed the door. She found me in the living room, laptop open, calm. What the hell is wrong with you? I looked up. Nothing. You closed our account without telling me? It was my account. You were listed as a user. You contributed nothing. That's not how marriage works. Then explain how it works. Because for 2 years, I've paid for everything while you spent my money on brunch and manicures. Her face flushed. I contribute in other ways. Name one, she stammered. I keep the apartment clean. I cook. You cook twice a week. I clean on weekends. That's not equivalent to $92,000 a year. You're being cruel. I'm being accurate. She sat on the couch, head in her hands. She cried. I waited. After 5 minutes, she looked up. So what now? You're just going to leave me with nothing? I'm not leaving you with nothing. I'm removing my financial responsibility for you. If you need money, get a job. I can't just get a job overnight. You've had 2 years. She stared at me. You've been planning this. Yes. For how long? 8 months. Her face twisted. You're a monster. I stood. I picked up my laptop. I'm done being your ATM. I walked to the bedroom. I locked the door. She pounded on it for 10 minutes, yelling, crying, threatening. I put in, my headphones. I opened my moving checklist. June 15th, joint account closed, check. June 20th, move belongings while she's out, pending. June 30th, apartment lease expires, pending. Everything was on schedule. That night, Evelyn slept on the couch. I heard her crying through the wall. I felt nothing. Not guilt, not pity, just clarity. The next morning, she was gone before I woke up. She left a note on the counter. I'm staying with Emily. I can't be here right now. We need space. I crumpled the note. I threw it away. Space was exactly what I needed. Update 2. Evelyn stayed at Emily's place for 3 days. During that time, she called me 6 times. I answered once. She demanded I reopen the joint account. I refused. She said I was controlling. I said I was protecting myself. She hung up. On June 12th, she came back to the apartment. She needed clothes. I wasn't home. She used her key. She took a suitcase, some toiletries, her favorite jacket. She left the bathroom a mess. Drawers open, towels on the floor, a passive-aggressive message. I cleaned it that night. I took photos. I added them to the folder. On June 15th, I received a text from Evelyn's mother, Josephine. Evelyn told me what you did. You should be ashamed. I replied, ask Evelyn how much she contributed financially over the past 2 years. Then tell me who should be ashamed. Josephine didn't respond. The next day, Evelyn posted on Instagram a photo of herself at Emily's place looking sad, makeup minimal, eyes red. The caption read, when you realize the person you trusted most sees you as a burden. Healing starts now. Comments poured in. You deserve better, babe. He doesn't deserve you. Men are trash. I screenshot the post. I added it to the folder. I didn't comment. I didn't engage. But Emily did. She sent me a message on Instagram. You're disgusting. Evelyn told me everything. You trapped her financially and then abandoned her. I replied, Evelyn had 2 years to get a job. She chose not to. I chose not to fund her lifestyle anymore. That's not abandonment. That's a boundary. Emily blocked me. On June 18th, I received an email from Matthew. Evelyn had contacted a lawyer. She was exploring her options for spousal support. Matthew said not to worry. With the documentation I had, her case was weak. She can try, he wrote, but judges don't look kindly on adults who refuse to work when they're physically and mentally capable. I thanked him. On June 19th, Evelyn called me at 11 p.m. She was drunk. I hate you, she slurred. I gave you everything, and you threw me away like garbage. You gave me nothing, Evelyn. You took everything. That's not true. Show me your bank statements from the past 2 years. Show me proof you contributed. Silence. You can't because you didn't. You lived off me, and when I stopped letting you, you called me a monster. She sobbed. I loved you. You loved my money. I hung up. The next day, I hired movers. June 20th was the date. Evelyn texted me that morning. She said she'd be at Emily's place all day. She wanted to talk when I had time. I didn't reply. At 10 a.m. when the movers arrived, 2 guys, a truck, 3 hours of work, they packed my furniture, my clothes, my electronics, everything I owned. By 1 p.m., the apartment was empty except for Evelyn's things. I changed the locks at 2 p.m. The locksmith charged me $150. I paid cash. I kept the receipt. I left Evelyn's key on the kitchen counter with a note. Lease terminates June 30th. You have 10 days to move out. After that, the landlord takes over. I walked out. I didn't look back. Update 3. Evelyn came home at 7 p.m. that night. I wasn't there to see it, but she called me 17 times between 7:03 and 7:45. I was at my brother's place in Portland, unpacking boxes, setting up my temporary room. I ignored every call. At 8:12 p.m., she texted, "Where are you? Why is the apartment empty? Why doesn't my key work?" I replied at 9 p.m. I moved out. Lease terminates June 30th. You have 10 days. You can't do this. I already did. I'll call the police. Go ahead. The lease is in my name. You're not a tenant. You're a guest. I gave you notice. She didn't call the police. She called her mother instead. Josephine called me at 9:30 p.m. Her voice was sharp. You can't just kick Evelyn out. She lives there. She's not on the lease. She never signed anything. I'm the sole tenant, and I terminated the lease. She has 10 days to find somewhere else. You're heartless. I'm done being exploited. Josephine hung up. Over the next 3 days, Evelyn tried everything. She contacted the landlord. He told her what I already knew. She wasn't on the lease. She had no legal standing. If she didn't leave by June 30th, she'd be trespassing. She contacted a lawyer. Matthew told me her lawyer advised her to negotiate. She had no leverage. No proof of financial contribution, no documentation, no case. She posted on social media, another sad selfie, another vague caption about betrayal and finding strength. Her friends rallied. My name wasn't mentioned, but the subtext was clear. I didn't engage. I didn't defend myself. I let her narrative spin. It didn't matter. The people who mattered knew the truth. On June 24th, Evelyn sent me a long email. She apologized. She said she understood now. She said she took me for granted. She said she wanted to fix things. She said she'd get a job. She said she'd contribute. She said she loved me. I read it twice. I deleted it. At 11 p.m. that night, she called. She was crying. Please, just talk to me. I'll change. I promise. You had 2 years to change. I didn't realize how bad it was. You realized. You just didn't care. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, Evelyn. You taught me that. I hung up. On June 27th, Evelyn moved her things out. Emily helped her. They rented a U-Haul. They made 3 trips. I wasn't there. I was in Portland, interviewing for a remote position with a tech company in Seattle. The pay was better. The work was better. The life was better. On June 30th, the landlord confirmed the apartment was empty. He returned my security deposit, $2,200. I deposited it into my savings. That evening, Evelyn sent one final text. I hope you're happy. I replied, I am. She didn't respond. I blocked her number. I blocked her on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I erased her from my phone, my email, my cloud storage. I didn't hate her. I didn't wish her harm. I just didn't care anymore. And that was the most powerful feeling of all. Evelyn's unraveling didn't happen overnight. It happened in stages, each one sharper than the last. In early July, she moved into Emily's spare room. Emily charged her rent, $400 a month, utilities included. Evelyn couldn't afford it. She asked her mother for help. Josephine sent her $500 and told her to get a job. Evelyn applied to 3 places: Starbucks, Target, a local boutique. She didn't get callbacks. She blamed me. She told people I'd ruined her credit, sabotaged her references, destroyed her reputation. None of it was true. I'd done nothing but remove myself from her life. By mid-July, Emily was tired of her. Evelyn wasn't contributing to groceries. She wasn't cleaning. She spent her days on the couch, scrolling her phone, applying to jobs half-heartedly, complaining about how unfair life was. Emily asked her to leave. Evelyn called her mother again. Josephine said no. She said Evelyn needed to figure it out herself. She said coddling her wasn't helping. Evelyn called me. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. I know you hate me. I know you think I'm worthless. But I need help. Just this once. I'll pay you back, I swear. I deleted the voicemail. In August, Evelyn moved into a shared apartment with two strangers she found on Craigslist. The room was small. The walls were thin. The rent was $600 a month. She couldn't afford it. She took a job at a call center. Minimum wage, 8-hour shifts. She hated it. She posted about it. First day at my new job. Not where I thought I'd be at 29, but here we are. The comments were supportive, but hollow. You got this. Better days ahead. Proud of you. I didn't comment. I didn't like. I didn't care. In September, Evelyn texted me from a new number. She must have thought I wouldn't recognize it. I know you blocked me. I don't blame you, but I wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. You were right. I was selfish. I took you for granted. I hope you're doing well. I didn't reply. I blocked the number. By October, Evelyn's Instagram post stopped. Her last post was a photo of a sunset with the caption, "Learning to be okay with starting over." I heard from a mutual friend, Samuel, in November. He ran into Evelyn at a coffee shop. She was working as a barista. She looked tired. She asked about me. Samuel said I was doing well. She nodded. She didn't ask for details. Samuel told me she seemed different, quieter, more aware. He said, I think she finally gets it. I said, good for her. I didn't ask more. I didn't need to know. Evelyn was no longer my problem. She was no longer my responsibility. She was a chapter I'd closed, a lesson I'd learned, a version of myself I'd left behind. In December, I received a letter. It was forwarded from my old address to my brother's place. The handwriting was Evelyn's. Inside was a single page. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to respond. But I needed to say this. You were right. I was wrong. I wasted 2 years of your life, and I'm sorry. I hope you find someone who deserves you. I wasn't her. I read it once. I put it in a drawer. I didn't reply. Some apologies don't need responses. Some people don't need closure. Some doors just need to stay closed. Final closure, I started dating again in January. Her name was Madeline. She was 30, a graphic designer, independent, driven. We met at a co-working space in Seattle. I'd relocated there in October for the new job. The pay was $115,000 a year. The work was challenging. The team was smart. The city felt clean, new, full of possibility. Madeline and I grabbed coffee after a networking event. She paid for hers. I paid for mine. We split a pastry. It was such a small thing, but it mattered. She didn't expect me to cover her. She didn't assume. She didn't take. On our third date, I told her about Evelyn. Not in detail, just the broad strokes. I was with someone who didn't contribute. I stayed too long. I left when I realized I was funding her life, not building one together. Madeline nodded. She said, I dated someone like that too. It's exhausting. You give, and they just take it for granted. We talked for hours about boundaries, about respect, about partnership, about what it meant to build something with someone instead of for someone. In February, I signed a lease for a 1-bedroom apartment in Capitol Hill. The rent was $1,800 a month. I furnished it myself. IKEA couch, simple desk, plants by the window. It was mine, every piece, every decision, every dollar. Madeline came over for dinner in March. She brought wine. I cooked pasta. We ate on the couch watching a documentary about ocean conservation. Halfway through, she said, this is nice. Just being here. No pressure. No performance. I kissed her. She kissed me back. That night, lying in bed, she said, you know what I like about you? You don't make me feel guilty for having my own money, my own life, my own space. You respect it. That's rare. I said, you do the same for me. She smiled. That's how it should be. In April, I received a Facebook message from Emily. Hey, I know we didn't end on good terms, but I wanted to say I get it now. Evelyn told me everything. The real version, how much you paid for, how little she did. I'm sorry I called you disgusting. You weren't the villain. You were just done. I read it. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Emily's apology wasn't for me. It was for her own guilt. In May, I got a promotion. Senior engineer, $135,000 a year, stock options, full benefits. I called my brother. We celebrated over FaceTime. He said, "You did it, man. You got out and you rebuilt. That takes guts." I said, "It just took clarity." In June, exactly 1 year after I moved out of the apartment Evelyn and I shared, I went on a trip. Not to Bali, to Iceland. I went alone. I hiked glaciers. I swam in hot springs. I watched the midnight sun dip toward the horizon but never disappear. I stood on black sand beaches and felt the wind strip away the last remnants of the person I used to be. The person who said yes when he meant no. The person who paid for peace instead of demanding respect. On the last night, I sat in a small guest house in Vec, looking out at the ocean. I thought about Evelyn, not with anger, not with bitterness, just with distance. She taught me what I wouldn't accept. Madeline taught me what I deserved. I thought about the apartment, the empty rooms, the changed locks, the key that didn't work. Some people see closed doors as rejection. I saw mine as liberation. Evelyn wanted me to fund her life. I chose to fund mine instead. And for the first time in years, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Free.